to the podcast. I'm Junior Kekueva Jr. This is the Law of Attraction Comedy Podcast. A lot of people, they ask me, like, they send the message to jrkjr.com, so you can actually go there and you can submit a voice recording. And I get like maybe 3 or 4 a week. And so one of the questions was like, what's a comedy law of attraction podcast? We never heard of that. Well, it's just that, I do things in a funny way because I don't want it to be boring, right? So we call it a comedy, law of attraction comedy podcast. It's not jokes about the law of attraction or anything. It's just a funny podcast that, is presented in good humor and everything, along with experiences, from my life, which are equated to the law of attraction. Now, here's how it works, okay? But before we do that, right? The attitude of gratitude, Hawaiians, there you go. All right, so we want to say thank you. A new country that we have is Spain, okay? Spain is our latest country. So I want to say thank you to the people of Spain tuning in. Now, since we have revamped the podcast, Jay's my producer, and he goes, okay, so you have to tell your story first. You have to do it, So we did everything by the book the way he does it, because if it was me, I just jam, right? And as a result, okay, here's the stats that are different. Apple Podcasts are down to 52%. Okay, they used to be like 85%, which is what Jay's telling me is that, okay, because you were only being heard really on that podcast, on Apple Podcasts, people with iPhones, right? But now here's the thing, right? Spotify is 16%, used to be 14%. Okay, web browsers are up to 9%. They were like 1%. Okay, iHeartRadio used to be 2%. It's now 8%. Anchor is 3%. Other is 12%. So the 12%, those are other apps. Like TuneIn, we're on TuneIn app. We're on almost practically everything. Everywhere you can get, we're on Breaker. That's another one. Anywhere you can get podcasts, we're there. Thanks to Jay. Thank you very much, Jay. Also, our demographics are 23 to dead, basically. But here's the interesting thing, okay? Females were always like 20%, right? Okay, so now males are 68%, females are 32%. Welcome, ladies. So, ladies are in the house. All right. Now, on with the podcast. So, the law of attraction, right? The thing that people don't understand, this is not like a magical, mystical thing, okay? This is not. This is built into every human being. It's called the subconscious mind. That's what it is. Very simple, okay? Now, your subconscious, if you want a book on it, I will send it to you, okay? It's in PDF form. I will send it to you. All you got to do is go to jrkjr.com, email me, or you can go direct to my email, hereforyouusa@gmail.com, and I will send you a copy so you can learn how to do this stuff, okay? You got to have a good mindset. You have to, be positive, all that kind of stuff, right? The positive thing, to me, especially recently, right, in society, everybody, you got to be positive, okay? You can't fake positive. What you need to do is you need to make steps in your life to get you to that state of being or to a raised frequency. And you're going to find that when you're at a raised frequency or higher vibration, what happens is you attract like bigger things, better people, better friends or acquaintances or whatever it is for you, better relationship, all of those things. And it all starts with your frame of mind, okay? Now, your subconscious mind is different because your subconscious mind is, think of it as your hard drive, okay? And I always give this analogy because so many people are on computers now, especially young people. And this podcast is for everybody, but I aim it at young people because they need to know these things, okay? Because the earlier you know these things in life, the better your life will be, and I had my first mentor was my uncle at age 13, right? Pumping me full of this information. And at that time I wasn't ready, okay? But it went into my memory. So if you're listening to the podcast now and you're like, 20, 22 and you're out there having fun and, like we say in Hawaii, making any kind, okay? If you're just you're just, having fun with your life, right? Discovering life, that kind of thing. you're probably not going to want to put this into practice right now. But when you're 30, okay, maybe 28, for me, it started happening around 28. Because up until 28, my life was like ultimate chaos. Like, I can't even tell you. But the information stays in your memory, okay? And then it starts to come out as needed, or let's say when you're ready for it, or let's say when you want to employ that knowledge. Okay, so anyway, but now the law of attraction happens whether you are aware of it or not. Okay, it came out in Rhonda Byrne's book, The Secret. That was a major release, or let's say awareness to the law of attraction. But the law of attraction has been around like for centuries, and people always knew this, right? But the reason why it's, kind of mystical and whatever is because of the branding. Okay, now this is commercial branding, the law of attraction, right? The Secret, okay? The Secret is a brand. Okay, because people, tell me, oh, are you using The Secret? They look at my car, they look at my house, they look at all these things and go, oh, are you using The Secret? And I am like, well, it's not a secret, and no, I'm not using Rhonda Byrne's brand, but this is, you can go back with this thing. You can go back to, oh my gosh, you can go back to Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. You could go even farther back. Okay, you can, all the thought leaders, you Dr. Wayne Dyer. you could just, I can name them. Bob Proctor. I studied Bob Proctor and Dr. Wayne Dyer many years ago, and when YouTube first came on, right, everybody's all excited and everybody started teaching on YouTube and stuff, and I was one of the learners. And these principles, right, now, you see there's this quote that I put up on Facebook, and let me go in. I want to get this quote right and give it to you properly, okay? So the quote was, I have it here, hang on, I got it, okay. Mark Twain once said, never tell the truth to people who are not worthy of it. Okay, that was a true quote by Mark Twain. Now, I just happened to put that up on Facebook today because, there's two kinds of sets of atmospheres for you, right? There's work and there's home. In the home environment, things are different, right? When you go to work, you put on your work face or game face or whatever they call it, right? Now, the people that know you at work or know, whatever, they know you at work or how you are at work or whatever. That's one set of stuff. Now at home, it's totally different, right? Now with your friends and family, which are the most, I want to say damaging to your whole deal. Okay. Advice from friends and family will probably derail you faster than anything. Coworkers are just coworkers. Years ago, I made the mistake of thinking that coworkers were actually friends at one point. And I was working at this ethnic station. It was way back in the day. And I was a production director working, making audio for television and, radio commercials all day long. And I started to like certain people in the organization, in the radio stations. There were 3 radio stations. And I started to like these guys. And pretty soon, working there year after year, right? I worked there for, I think, 5 years, 4 or 5 years, something like that. And, over the period of time, you begin to consider them friends because, well, they're nice to you, right? And then you're nice to them, and, and there were a couple of really sincere people that I made friends with, okay? But there were tons more that I thought were friends because they were cordial and they were nice to me and I was nice to them. And so I thought, oh, well, I could count on them as a friend or whatever. It wasn't like I needed anything or anything like that. I just thought that they were friends. And, cause you would think that, right? Wrong. Okay. So no, you might think that. Okay. But that's not the way it is. Never mistake coworkers, okay, for friends unless they truly are friends. Okay. And I've, along the way, in those days, I used the term friend very loosely. Everybody, oh, yeah, that's my friend. Yeah, that's my friend over there. And then I started going, no, you know what? This is, the definition of friend is a little different. Because there's friends and there's acquaintances, and then there's colleagues. And the colleagues are people that you work with. Acquaintances are just people, hello and goodbye, and they know your face, you know their face, and you see them and whatever. Friends are a very special people. And in my life, I have come to realize, right, and, when I look back, right, I go, okay, how many guys could I really count on? Like, how many guys were sincerely interested in me as a friend, and how many guys just looked at me as an acquaintance? And you know what? You have to hold yourself accountable, and you have to evaluate, because if you don't evaluate your life, and if you don't take, what we call in the digital world, okay, we do an evaluation of sorts, okay, and what we call it an audit. We call it an audit. And so we'll go audit a website, or we'll go audit a sales funnel. We'll go audit something, right? And that means we go into it and we evaluate like every single thing about it. And we can tell you, who's full of crap and who's got a solid sales funnel, or who has a solid working website. I mean, it's stuff like that, right? So it's the same thing in real life, okay? You have to take an audit, but not of other people. You have to take an audit of yourself. And the reason why is because if you don't keep an accurate audit of yourself, you don't know where you're going, okay? And you will just kind of, like a rudderless boat, right? Just going like in any direction. And you will lack focus. Now, you really need to focus, okay? And you need to focus on what your life should be like, or what you want it to be like, or what you wish it was like, or what you, just your desire, okay? Now, desire drives everything, okay? And you have to have that desire, and you have to create goals, and you have to be systematic about a certain number of things. At the top of the list, like the top 5 things, you have to be systematic about. And it's the way that you do things. Okay, so I'm not here to, teach class, but I mean, if you want that, jrkjr.com, and, or go to the website and book direct from, hereforyou.live. But the thing about it is, right, there are certain fundamental principles that you need to follow, okay, in order to be a success in anything. I don't care what it is. If you're just doing something aimlessly, like no target, you're not aiming for anything specific, then that's exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get nothing specific. Okay. And people wonder, like, how come this never works? It doesn't work because you don't have structure. You need structure. Okay. How are you going to get from point A to point B? Okay. So that's a big question. How? And I got to tell you, the how is God's job. It's not your job. There's a lot of people that sit around, right? Before they take any action on something, they're trying to figure out in their head, okay, how is this going to work? Right? And then they go, cool, well, okay, it's going to be like this from step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, whatever. They plan it out methodically. And then because they have the goal, right? They have the goal. Because they have that goal, they'll achieve the goal. But then nothing will go according to plan, right? And then they sit around and go, oh man, why is this like this? I thought I was gonna, do this. But if the goal turns out, right, never mind the steps. So I don't even plan steps anymore. Not at all. Okay. The only steps I take is visualize. Okay. I write it, I speak it, and it happens. It just happens. So affirmations, right? In addition to those things, those 3 things, is meditation and prayer. That's it. And that's all you need. Meditation is very, very important. It's a vibrational timeout. Okay, much like a nap is vibrational timeouts. And naps are good too. You'd be surprised what happens. Because when you're exerting energy towards a goal, okay, like efforting, right? You're doing something, you're working towards a goal, you're pushing towards a goal. Okay, if you don't take a time out, okay, in other words, if you don't take a few steps and then rest, take a few steps and then, okay, that's it. In my house, it's called mouse down. I have my office. It's on the 5th floor of my house, and I sit in the corner and I work. Okay, this morning I started work at 3:00. Okay. And it was like, go, go, go. So 3, 4, 5, then it was mouse down. Okay. So when I have these alerts that I set and it says mouse down, and that means, okay, put down the mouse, close the laptop, right? Shut off the light, whatever it is, and on to the next thing, or rest, or, whatever the next thing is. Okay. And there's a morning system that I go through, and it consists of many different elements, and I go through all of them, right? And so I'm up at 3, I'm working like all through the early morning, stuff like that, right? Then I get to about like, I don't know, 10, 11, sometimes 1 o'clock, and it's time for the nap. Okay. Because it's not because I'm, trying to stay young or whatever. And I mean, I hardly have gray hair. I have no gray roots. I mean, only on the side, Hawaiians, only on the side. Okay. And you guys are all Hawaiians. I know people in Spain right now, they're going, Hawaiians? No, we're in Spain. Like, we're Spanish. No. So everybody listening to the podcast is Hawaiians. Why are you listening? And then when you're done, or when the podcast is over, okay, you go back to being Spaniards or whatever, whoever you are. Okay. But anyway, and we have, so now 54 countries, tuning in. Thank you very much, Spain. So anyway, but the law of attraction will happen. Okay. Whether you think it does or not. Because when you produce a negative action, okay, and we've got to go back to Sir Isaac Newton, right? So when you go back to producing a negative action, right, negative happens. Then you produce a positive action. Now these actions happen all day long, okay, and sometimes it's a thought. Sometimes it's, like you growl like a dog sometimes, that guy, or whatever, right? The boss tells you something, you get mad at the boss, so you think those thoughts, right? Okay, so then you receive that. And many people don't make the connection, okay, that when you do something in the morning and something falls through in the afternoon, okay, you don't make the connection. You don't put it together. You don't put together like, well, this morning, I yelled at the girl at the store, lost my temper because she got something wrong or whatever. And then when, this afternoon, when I checked my email, I had a cancellation. I lost some money or whatever. I'm just giving examples. But something good happens in the morning. You do something good in the morning. In the afternoon, you get the reward. And I'm not saying it always happens like this. I'm just saying when these things happen, people don't make the connection. Okay, when you help somebody, say you give somebody money in the morning, right? There's been so many mornings in my life where I buy people coffee, like at random. I'll go into Starbucks. If I see somebody in a military uniform, right, I will comp their order. I will go and I'll put my card inside or tell the girl, no, it's okay. I signal them right now, put them on mine. And I mean, that kind of thing, right? Now that's out of gratitude. That's out of gratitude because these people are fighting for us, or protecting us or looking out for us or that kind of thing, right? So in my world, military people are very special. Same thing with firemen, policemen, ambulance workers. So I do that for these people, right? Just to help out. I was with my mom one day, and I was with my mom, and she doesn't know that I do this, right? And so we were in a restaurant. It was a small takeout plate. We were ordering plate lunches. If you're not familiar with Hawaii, a plate lunch is just, so it comes in this little cardboard box kind of thing, and you go into the restaurant and it's like a hamburger and rice and I mean that kind of thing, right? It's a plate lunch kind of thing. And so anyway, so these military people came in, like 3 of them, and they ordered their lunch, right? And my mom sees this, and we're waiting for our order. And she steps over to the counter and she pays for like all 3 lunches, drinks, everything, like whatever they ordered. She paid for the whole thing. And I'm like, whoa, that was a topper, right? Because she just taught me, right? I have not done that. Okay. I do coffee. I do whatever, Starbucks, right? And she did this in the plate lunch place. And I was proud of her. I was really proud. I was like, yeah, that's my mom. Because she did that, right? Now, it could have been in Starbucks. I would have still been, yeah, that's my mom, But this is an example of things that are hereditary in people. So you are the expression of your parents. So I heard this guy on social media the other day. What is it? Grant Cardone. I think it was Grant Cardone who said this. And Grant Cardone said, if you're poor, then you're going to stay poor. If you were, the odds of you becoming successful if you're born poor is very slim. Okay. But this is what he's talking about. So I'm going to use the analogy of my mom. See, my mom is like that. I had no idea. I had no idea she does that, right? But I was standing there and she did that and I go, wow. And when we walked out, I said, Ma, I know I'm a big dog like you, but, I take care of people in Starbucks, that kind of thing. And my mom laughed, we joked about it. But, you see, it came down in the gene pool. Now, that's based upon the fact that all cells have memory. You are not a reflection of your parents. Remember in the old days, they used to say that, right? You better behave when you're out there, man, whatever. You're a reflection on me. Parents used to say that, right? That happened. My mom said that. That happened in my house, okay? But I grew up thinking that until a certain age. And when I started getting into all this stuff at, around 28 years old, I started learning this stuff. And I go, no, we're not reflections of our parents. We are expressions of our parents, okay? So, you know how you take a look at the 5 people, they say that, right? You look at the 5 people that you hang out with and I'll tell you who you are, right? Or I'll tell you your future, okay? And that's not why I, don't hang. I don't hang because of a time thing, right? So I'd rather spend my time building. I'd rather spend my time doing something productive than just like hanging at a bar or whatever. But I've done that. I go once in a while, but the times that I go versus the times that I don't are very slim. Like, even back in the day when I had to go do a lot of public things to make appearances for stuff and, that kind of stuff, entertainment stuff or radio stuff or television stuff, that was very limited. Because, it wasn't that I didn't like it, although I thought it was a little cheesy. I thought it was a little plastic. And so, I didn't really kind of fit in. I never fit in, never ever fit in because I wasn't that kind of person, right? But I wanted to do that kind of work because I love that kind of work. Right? I love making people laugh. I love doing what I'm doing, right? As far as the entertainment thing, I love singing. I love playing music. I love joking. I love making people laugh, all of that stuff. So I wanted to do that stuff, okay? But I didn't fit in with the people themselves. And this is the thing, and cliques happen because you get, like attracts like, and then clicks form, right? So there's a clique everywhere. And I just chose not to be a part of a clique because to me, right, the way I looked at it, it's just me. It's not judgment against cliques or anything. But if you are a part of a clique, okay, you become responsible to the clique after a while. Okay, especially if they're doing things for you or if you're, I don't know, making any advancements on, or let's say because of the clique, right? And so I never saw the value in that because I'm like, no, you know what? I have a life path, right? And this is something that you need to discover for yourself and check out. Okay, you have a life path. Now, nobody can steer you off your life path at all. And if you use the law of attraction, so what we want to say is deliberate use of the law of attraction, because it'll happen whether you think so or not, right? You do something bad, right? Something bad going to happen to you. You do something good going to happen to you, whatever. And when that happens, and in the course of the day, you do so many negative actions and you do so many positive actions. All you need to do is cross the line by 1%, 51% positive. That's all you need to do. Nobody's going to be 80% positive, right? I remember this one guy. He was like always on. He was like always like, hey, how's it? He was always on. In Hawaii, how's it means how is it? Like how are you doing? Like that kind of thing. So, but he was always on, right? And here's the thing about the law of attraction, though. It's not about what your projecting as far as you trying to put on a show for other people, because it's not like that. I mean, trust me, show business is called show business because it's a show. The people behind the mask, or the people behind the scenes that are actually, you know, when they go home, like to their families, the people, okay, very different, very different, because we get to know these guys, right? And then we see the true person because they get tested. You know, we see the true person when they get tested by drama, or when they get tested by adversity, or when they get tested by something, you know, that they got to go through, right? Everybody has to. But that's when you see the real person, and that's when you go, oh, okay, it's not like that. Because, you know, I had heroes. I had tons of heroes. And I was so, I want to say, grateful in my life to meet my heroes that I had as a kid here locally in Hawaii. And sometimes when I met my heroes, like, they were my heroes. And sometimes when I met my heroes, there were things about my heroes that I go, oh, I wish I didn't see that. No, God, you know what? Because it does tarnish that image in your head, because the image in your head is on the show part of things, right? So if you're watching TV, right, you see that image. If you're listening to the radio, you hear that image. If you're watching a performer perform in a club, you see that image. And then when you see the real guy and the real habits and the real traits, you can go, oh, geez, I wish I didn't see that. You know what I mean? So anyway, but that's the law of attraction. You only have to do 1% over the line. Okay, you only have to be 51% positive. It's impossible to, you can't do 100. You can't even try to do that. I mean, that's unrealistic. So when you start to get into the law of attraction, it's about deliberately controlling it. It's about being aware. It's about being in a state of awareness where you can go, okay, I'm gonna plan on doing this. I'm gonna plan to do this. I'm gonna plan to be positive. So you can project anything you want. You can put on any game face you want, okay? But the law of attraction is reacting to who you are, okay? And that's that expression of coming down the gene pool, okay? And that's why when I saw my mom do that, when I saw my mom do that, I'm like, wow, I do that all the time, smaller stuff, but yeah, I do it. And so that's the expression, okay? And another example I have is my son, okay? Now, I don't know my grandson. That's another podcast. That actually is not a podcast, but I'm just saying. But my son, right? When I met my son, he was 5 years old, right? I took care of him till 18 months, and then his mom took him, and then he came back, and then he was 5, and we had this. I want to call it a dream summer. It was good fun. We bought toys every single day. We did all kinds of stuff, right? And he rode shotgun in the car. He was my main man. When he came back when he was 16, right? I didn't see him till 16. So his mom wouldn't let him come back. It's just, family drama. So he came back at 16, and I noticed all of these things that I didn't like about me that popped up in him. That I would, it's not that I didn't like it in me. It's like I knew I had these bad traits, okay? And I saw these bad traits because I suffered from these bad traits, right? I did things with these bad traits that got me bad results, that brought bad stuff, right? And I saw them in my son, and I go, oh my God. It's not because, I don't like them, therefore I don't like my son kind of thing. It's not that. I love my son, right? I can't talk to my son, but I love my son, right? But the thing is, when I saw it, I'm like, oh no, like he's got it. It's almost like a hereditary disease, right? It's like, oh no, he's got my bad habits. And because he has my bad habits, or because he had my bad habits at the time, or because I saw it at that time, right? I'm like, oh man, this guy gonna have a hard time if he doesn't overcome this. Because I had to overcome it. Right? But when you're, when you're a dad, you can't say this kind of stuff to your kids. They don't listen to you. Okay. I've worked with kids for 33 years. I've been a teacher for 33 years. And I can tell you that the parents used me in many, many scenarios, in many ways, to get the message across to their kids because they wouldn't listen to them. Here's why kids don't listen to you. Kids don't listen to you because they live in the same house as you. They live with you all the time. They see right through you, and they see you making mistakes. There you go. So your credibility goes right down the drain, okay? But when you're not in the family, when you're an outsider, even an uncle or an auntie, even if you're in the family but you're not around the family, then you have a chance, So, but anyway, getting back to the expression part, you are an expression of your parents. Now, can you change those habits? Of course, you can. But you need to change your paradigm in your subconscious, okay? Now, this is where the law of attraction, a lot of people make a fundamental mistake in interpreting it, okay? It's nothing more than your subconscious. Your subconscious mind will actually help you achieve your goals, will actually bring everything into existence for you. Okay, because yes, God is real. Okay, don't get me wrong, Hawaiians. God is real. And we're going to talk about church on another podcast because church, on the other hand, is a business. But God is real. Okay, so yeah, you can make money on anything. Even churches make huge money, like over $40 billion annually in the United States, tax free. So, but I mean, hey, if that's their game, if that's their business, that's their profession, it is. But you got to see what it is. It is what it is. It's a business. Okay. But God is real. Okay. The inside of you, the energy within you, God is real. The body is not, of God. The body is physical. Okay. You get the body by the food you eat, right? You build that body, whatever. So yeah, eat good stuff, right? But here's the thing, right? The law of attraction, when people talk about it, they talk about it like it's some mystical thing. And you do get divine help. You really do. Okay. And you can pray for divine help. I do every morning. And you can do your meditation. Okay. You can do all that stuff. And that will all help you as far as, spiritually, right? That will help you. Okay. But here's the thing, right? People dismiss themselves. They dismiss their subconscious mind. Okay. And either that or they don't learn or they don't pursue learning about it or whatever. Okay. But it's very easy to change your paradigm. It takes a little work. I mean, if you think, writing and reciting things and going over information like that is a chore, then maybe it's hard for you. Maybe that's difficult. But that is self-discipline. That's all that is. And you got to tell yourself, like when I came to the studio this morning to record this, right? I was like, okay, look, you have to go. You got to go, right? And Jay told me, well, okay, we have enough listens now. Now you can do the next podcast. So I'm like, okay. So that's why it comes out on different days sometimes Tuesday, sometimes Friday, today, Wednesday, right? So different days, depending on how many listens. We have to get to so many thousand listens and then we do another one. So, but anyway, the law of attraction thing, right? The subconscious, you guys need to learn about that. It's the same principle as when I talk about relationships and I tell you guys, like these guys, these dudes, right? And it happened to me. It happened to me. Okay. And it used to happen to me. And I thought, well, it'd be nice if I could control this situation, right? It would be nice if I walked in a club to meet a girl, right? And I had total control of the whole interaction. I had total control of everything right up until, that magic moment where, that happens. So I'm like, it would be great. So what did I do? I started studying females. I started studying, okay, what attracts females and what repels females. Okay. And you have to learn these things. See, the guys, they go out, they meet somebody, it leads to a date, and then it leads to more dates, and pretty soon they're going together. Pretty soon they get married, they have kids, and then, down the road, when things start failing, when things start getting monotonous, when they're not doing the work, when they're not putting in the time, when they're not doing all these things, and they're wondering why she's sleeping with the guy down the street, right? And they're wondering, like, okay, why is this going on? It's because they didn't learn about females in the beginning, right? Now, when if you're going to get married, okay, there's nothing, if you're a man, there's nothing in it for marriage for you. If you're a man, if you're a female, okay, there could be a lot in a marriage for you. especially if something goes wrong. Okay, they're called assets. Okay, but I'm just saying, right? Why not learn first? Learn about the female mind, learn about the female brain, learn how they're engineered, learn how they're hardwired, okay? And ladies, you too, okay? Learn about the guys, learn about how the, left reptilian logic brain works, and how to, women have this natural knack of figuring men out. Like within the first 2 months, she'll have a schematic. Okay, so my point is, this is not a relationship podcast today, right? But my point is to learn, okay? Education is key. It's key to understand. A lot of men don't understand what they're doing wrong in the relationship because they're focused on providing for the household. They're focused on providing for their female, their wife, the girlfriend, whatever, okay? They're focused on that. Okay, I know some guys that have multi-million-dollar companies. They're focused on their wife, their family, and their girlfriends, and they got a couple of them. I mean, but before you get to the stage where things get critical, right? You got to learn. Okay, so you young guys, and that's why I say I'm aiming this podcast at you 23-year-olds that tune in. Okay, because you guys need to go learn about girls. And if you're a 23-year-old female, because our percentage just went up, our female percentage just jumped. Okay, if you're that girl, go learn about men. Go get books about. And I don't mean go online and get a dating coach or whatever. Okay, don't do that. Men, the worst thing you could ever do is go online and follow a female who's telling you that she's gonna teach you how to communicate with girls. No, don't do that. Do not do that. Okay, go to Amazon Books and start researching. Okay, I would say go to the library, but nobody does that. Okay, I was showing my friend. I have dinner once a month with a very wealthy friend of mine, and we sit around and commiserate, right? And he has this extensive library, and he brings me books, like his old books. He goes through books like so quickly, so he always has a bunch of books. He brings me his hard copy, so I took out my phone and I showed him, like, my library. And my library is like extensive, okay? But it's all in my phone. Okay, there's audiobooks, there's regular books, there's PDFs, there's all kinds of stuff. But they're all in my phone. So now everybody carries their library in their phone, right? So it's not on the wall anymore. I told him, I said, well, I got this brand new house, right? And we don't have bookshelves on any of the walls. It's a modern house. There's none of that. There's no bookshelves. So the bookshelf is in my phone, right? So we had a little laugh about that. But seriously, go on Amazon Books, okay? Or audible.com and start researching, okay? Look into female nature, look into females, look into biological traits of females, and women, same thing for men, okay? Biological traits, thinking patterns, thought patterns, all of these things. Okay, traits of men and what they do. Because before you guys go into a relationship, you guys should have control. Okay, now, did I learn how to control females? No. I learned how to control myself around females in such a way that I became irresistible to the female. Okay, and yeah, I said irresistible. I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you, you can do it too. Women are not visual. Okay, you see some really ugly dudes out there, right? You see ugly dudes out there and they got this 10. They're walking around with a dime, right? And they're ugly. They're doggy's yard bone ugly, okay? Okay, that's the comedy part of the podcast. All right. So anyway, but you see that because women aren't visual. Men, on the other hand, are visual. Okay, we can't stand to be well, okay, I'm not going to go there. But yeah, there's certain things that we can't stand to look at, okay? Especially if we're looking down at it. You know what I'm saying? All right, never mind. So it has to be nice and dark. It has to be a dark room is what I'm saying. All right, enough comedy. But go out and learn. Go out and learn, okay? And you really need to learn about who you're dealing with, okay? Now, if it's a girl, go study females. If it's a guy, go study males. If it's a situation or let's say an organization or a business, go study that. The Art of War by Sun Tzu is a very good book. Go check that out. Go learn that. It'll teach you strategy. Life is all about strategy. It's all about strategy, making strategic moves rather than wasting time and energy and a lot of energy, right? You don't have to spend as much energy to make money if you learn about money first, if you learn about how to make money, if you learn about what makes money, if you learn about what to do with money or what money is. In the United States, money's nothing. Money's an energy. That's all it is. It's just energy. And if you learn how to manipulate energy, okay, and it starts with your voice, because that's your, your voice and your heart is the energy that drives. Okay, your voice can elevate your vibration. Your heart chakra is the strongest vibration that comes out of your body. When I was younger, I thought, oh, it was my brain, because I was big into thinking. I was always thinking. I was always thinking about stuff, right? And that's my ADHD, right? But I was always thinking. But no, it's the heart chakra. It's your heart that produces the biggest vibration in your body. Just this morning, I put up a video on auras. Okay, so that's the light emissions from your body, and they have these machines that can measure it, and they measure your aura, and it can be done on animals. You can see it. You can do a dog. It has a dog on there. I mean, you can see the whole thing, and it's amazing. So there's so much more to life than meets the eye. Okay, and there's so much more that you need to learn about amongst the things that you do daily. Okay, some people have very high-paying jobs, scientists, lawyers. One of my clients is a vice president of a bank. Okay, a very prominent bank. No names, Hawaiians, and especially not corporate entities, right? We don't want to say, but I'm just saying, but these people, right? They know their job. They know what they need to know to be really uber successful in their job. Okay, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to other things, they need to learn, right? And part of that, so they hire a coach, right? Here you go, right? Hey, Junior, can you how do you do this? Or how does this work? How does that work? And that's what a life coach is. Now, there's several different types of life coaching. I do executive life coaching. I help executives, okay? And there's relationships and all of these things involved in that because they need to learn that. Because a lot of these guys, this happens so many times. Like the guy who's making $300,000 a year, okay? $500,000 a year, and his family is just going to crap because there's no balance. Because he doesn't know what to do. Because what he knows how to do is bringing him the $500,000 a year. You see? So it's not hating against people that make a lot of money. It's not that. There's some guys who make $40,000-$50,000 a year or something, whatever, right? That are destroying their families. So it doesn't matter. It's not about how much money you make. Money is not the ish, okay? Money is a thing. It's not the thing, okay? But balance is the thing. You need to balance. You need to balance your home life with work life. My life is balanced because I force myself. I'm like, okay, when we get to mouse down, right? In the late mornings, I get to mouse down because there's an early morning mouse down. There's a mid-morning mouse down, right? And then I get to late mornings, right? And then it's like, all right, everything down, shut down. Okay. And I get in the car and we go for a ride. We go to lunch. We do something to get out of the house so mostly I'm in the house. Okay. I mean, I praise God. I praise God for the house, right? A lot of people don't have houses. I mean, so the point I'm making is, you have to balance. So I work so many hours and then I go, you know what? We need some recreation. We need to take a break. Whatever. In business, you always say we, right? Okay, I need to take a break. Whenever you say that, people go, oh, okay, he's talking about himself again. But that needs to happen. The balance. If you're working too much, and when you're working too much, because you start to feel it. Okay, when you start to feel it, trust your instincts. Stop. Okay, stop. And go do something else. Go relax. Go take a break. Take a nap. Go for a walk. Go down to the gym, punch the bag, do whatever you got to do. Okay. But that's your signal. Now, a lot of people don't listen to their intuition. Okay. So your intuition is that intuitive feeling that you get when you if you listen to that more, okay, it will help you. It will serve you. Your intuition can serve you if you listen, right? Because when you get to that point when you just have, this is a good one. When you're drinking, okay, and you have those of you that are drinkers, right? And you know that if you drink one more drink, you're gonna get a hangover. You already know. That's your intuition telling you, right? But you go for it anyway, right? Because you go, whatever, and you do it. Okay, and then you end up with a hangover. What do you do the next morning? You go, I knew I shouldn't have drank that last beer or whatever it was, right? Okay, that last glass of wine, that put me over. I knew I shouldn't have done it. Because you do know, because you have intuition. So listen to your intuition. So the law of attraction, okay, in a nutshell, okay, the key to this thing is to be able to control it, to be able to work it in your favor, and not become a victim of circumstance. If your life is like circumstantial, right? That means you're just waiting around for something bad to happen, and boom, when it happens, you're like, okay. And then you get into victim mentality, okay? But if you can control it, I already know where things are going when I do something. I already know. I know if something's going to turn out good. I know if something's going to turn out bad because I have a memory. The things, so put it this way. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Okay? And this can be anything. This can be working with the same group of individuals. You're going to get that same result you got last time. Okay? But here's your big fat but if you really like it, right? Or if you really like doing what you're doing with those individuals or whatever, that kind of thing, then go for it. Go do it again. Okay? But at least my mom did that recently to me. She goes, "What? You didn't learn last time?" Because I went back and worked with these guys that I worked with before, right? But I did it for me. I did it to be happy. I did it to joke around, to go do my thing. So what I'm saying is, but I knew how it was going to turn out. I knew exactly. It was predictable, and it was predictable based on past experience. It was predictable based on past evidence. Okay, now if you have, let's say you work in a pharmacy, okay, and you have this crappy boss, right, and he drives you crazy, and you got drama. You go home stressful every day. All right, then you leave the pharmacy and you go to work for maybe a hospital pharmacy, and you have a good experience. All right. But let's say there was something at that other pharmacy that was good that you don't get at the hospital, and you really want to experience that. Okay? Now, you have to weigh this out. Do I want to go back and work for that same a-hole guy, right? The pharmacy boss deal, right? Do I want to go back and take the bad part of that just so I can get the good part of that? If the answer is yes, then go. Because you know what? The second time around, right? The second time you go in, you already know what's coming. So you can defend yourself from it. You can protect yourself from it. In other words, what I'm saying is you're not going to be gullible because you have experience with it. Okay. Now, if you want to endure that kind of stuff, go do it. Okay. If you're good at handling, I want to say people or circumstances or whatever, then yeah, because you got to do your studies. Right? You got to do your studies so you know when you're being led, so you know when you're not, so you know when to laugh at something or when you know to take something serious. Okay? Because here's the thing about being serious about stuff. It'll lead to serious circumstances. This is all law of attraction, right? If you take life lightly, if you don't take life too serious, the circumstances you get will not be serious. And this is why when you have somebody pursuing, the corporate entity kind of thing, someone's building a corporation. I have a lot of friends that have corporations. And when you're doing that and you're going, right, this one friend of mine, he was building his business. It's one of a kind in Hawaii. And he was building this business. It almost killed him. And I mean physically, like almost killed him, right? But he got through it. And he did his meditation. He did so many things that got him through it, right? affirmations, meditation, the whole thing, the mental game, because it is a mental game. That's all it is, right? And he got through it, and now he cruises, you know. And in business, well, there's several terms for that, you know. But one is the hero's journey. They call it the hero's journey, because at a certain point in the hero's journey, it seems like everything is just going to ashes, right? And then the phoenix rises up from the ashes, and that's your result. That's your final destination. That's the goal. Okay, that represents the goal. And when the phoenix rises from the ashes, you know, it took me years and years and years to work towards my phoenix rising, but when it rose, it went straight through the ceiling. Okay, and it did that with several things, not just one thing. I had multiple careers, and it helped everything. It helps everything, because it's your frame of mind. It's your mindset. Mindset is everything. And that's why I keep telling you guys, you know, the law of attraction is a mindset. Yes, it's a positive mindset, but on the other hand, because a lot of people look at this as being insurmountable. Okay, it's not. Okay, all you got to do is 51%, Hawaiians. That's it, 1%. So the question is, can you do 51% positive? Because you pull it over and now you have the majority just by that 1%. So right now, if you're running like 40, 40%, if you're running 40% positive, can you stretch it over the line? Can you get to that 51%? If the answer is yes, then go for it. Do it. Okay? If the answer is I don't know, then try. It's not that hard, but it takes some self-discipline. That's the only thing. So in the next podcast, we might get into self-discipline, okay? Because self-discipline is the cornerstone, not only of the law of attraction, but of anything, okay? You have to be willing to say no to things, especially yourself, okay? So if you want to, you know, oh man, surf's up. I want to go surfing. Over here in Hawaii, people surf all the time, right? Oh, I want to go surfing. Yeah, surf's up. You have to be able to tell yourself, no. You got to say no, right? Or you got to say stop. Stop is a very good word because we've been conditioned from little kid days, right? So say stop to yourself, to stop yourself from that thought, and then regroup, and then, you know, or go take a nap, or get in the car, go for a ride, go do something, and then come back, okay? But you have to have that self-discipline. If you have no self-discipline, you're going to get addicted to things. If you have no self-discipline, you will not be able to stay on track for like anything. And that will lead to derailment instead of success. That will lead to chaos instead of order. That will lead to destruction. Okay? So just remember that, because, you know, I know people, okay? I was with people back in my 20s, okay? That when I look around for them now, they're not here. They're nowhere around. Not because they're bad or, you know, whatever. I'm just on a different wavelength, and I'm on the same island, and I don't see them, right? And then there's some people that I see, and some people that, you know, well, maybe I don't see them, but I know where they are, and they're doing the same thing, and they're stuck. I'm not suggesting that you need to do something different, okay? You can do the same thing your whole life, okay? I'm just not that kind of person. You know, like I always say, right? You work for 60 years or whatever it is, then you get your gold watch and what we call in Hawaii a mahalo party. And then you hit the cruises for a few years and then you die. And I'm just not that kind of guy. Because in my life, Hawaiians, I gotta go. No, in my life, Hawaiians, I gotta do different stuff or I will be bored. No. Hey, we gotta say mahalo to our sponsors, Brother Randy, Sister Jerry, Island Club and Spa in Kaka'ako. If you're ever in Honolulu, on the island of Oahu, check them out. Yep. Also, Voice Master Enterprises, family of service companies at AFM Hawaii Music, featuring the music of Darren Chinen. Yeah, Brother Darren. Until next time, I'm Junior Kekuama Jr. saying mahalo and aloha.